I'm María Mazorra. I am privileged to be the president of FLOR. For those of you who don't know what FLOR is, it's Flamenco and its Origins. It's a nonprofit that Lindsey Bourassa and a bunch of us got together back in 2024. We began this. We're trying to, Flamenco and its Origins, to keep the flamenco, I don't know how to say it, the art form in Maine. There's a lot of people that are involved with this. It's also a fusion of what happens and changes over time, which is what happens with music. So we do more than just straight flamenco. And thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate this. I am very bad about remembering names, and I need to start by thanking Mechanic Halls for co-hosting this event. I want to read through the list. Quiero Café, who did in-kind donations of the empanadas. Gina, are you Gina? Yay, Gina, for helping to secure the empanadas and get them here. Our sponsors are Pond Cove Salesforce Consulting, Systems Engineering, Portland Food Co-op, Norman Hansen and Detroit Law Firm, Randy D. Farrell of Portside Realty, the Janice Love Fund, and Jean Paul Boudreau Dentistry. And really, I just really want to thank you all for being here and supporting our events. Okay, so why are we here? Because we're going to talk to a fabulous dancer. Liliana Morales is a woman that has impacted my life tremendously. I actually started taking lessons with her when I was 16 years old. But she's been part of my life in that, you know, she came to our wedding, my husband's here, Lil. I have watched her performances and her adventures on the sidelines, and I'm really happy to share her with you tonight. She has performed in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, in South America. She was guest solo artist with various dance companies. She worked with Jose Greco, Maria Alba, Luisillo, with the ballet of Madrid, Lola Montes, La Tati. She has worked in television and film, and we'll have a little clip of her most recent involvement with In the Heights. She's worked with major opera companies in New York City Opera, Amado Opera. She's done zarzuelas in Madrid, has performed and been celebrated in many tablaos, not only in Madrid and Sevilla, but also in New York. She has taught at Stevens College, at Ballet Hispanico, and young audiences in New York. She has choreographed for various groups in Los Angeles, New York, and Madrid, and is the founder and director of Spanish American Dance Arts Company that eventually melded or fused or fusion or whatever we call it, changed into currently known as Flamenco Vivo, and Carlota Santana is the executive director there. So please have some applause for my friend, mentor, teacher, Liliana Morales. Okay, please forget my messiness, but that's the way I am. All right. Hey, Lil.
Hi, I just saw that Jerry Terrain. She's a wonderful dancer.
So,
very wonderful. I haven't seen you in ages. Again, it fell. Anyway, it's going to stay there.
So just to share, this is a small community in Maine, and I was approached that you saw the write-up in the Flamenco Vivo, and you were here in Maine and decided to show up, but your mom, and I can't pronounce your name because I'm was partnered with a gentleman that I remember seeing dancing, so I must have seen you dance when I was a young girl. So, you know, Mariana Parra company at the time. So it's, you know, we are in Maine, and you would think, oh my God, who's going to go see flamenco in Maine? We have a lot of people that are connected to it. So, Thank you for coming. Okay, so I already thank the staff here, and I really want to say it again, thank you so much for your work and for sponsoring this event. I also wanted to say that Lil was recently in 2024 interviewed for the Dance Oral History Project of Lincoln Center of the Jerome Robbins Dance Division, and that will be available to the public at some point, it's not yet, but it is documenting the oral history of dance in New York in particular.
Many dancers, yeah.
Yes, and Lil has been part of that project as well. So let's start with basic things like, where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Okay. Hi, thank you everyone for being here. I was born in Manhattan. I was born at 69 West 100th Street. I was born in the house. Both of my parents were born in Puerto Rico, and when my mother was a little girl, they had like an outdoor festival, a fiesta, and the flamenco dancer was dancing, a Spanish dancer was dancing at the, and she says, if I ever have a daughter, I want her to be a dancer. Well, she had me, and my brother also. But, I remember these people would come to the house and knock on the door and sell these dance classes. And I didn't want to do it, because I'm very shy, you know. But my mother was like so upset, and I was like a really good daughter. So I said, God, please send another one of these people. And she sent, the universe sent this person, and I said yes. And I started with tap. I was around 5 or 6 years old. I think I was around 5 years old. I was like really young. And then that developed into, I started doing ballet also, tap and ballet, but my mother really wanted Spanish dance. Spanish dance, there's a difference between Spanish dance and flamenco. Flamenco is basically done to singing and a guitar, and Spanish dance is orchestra music. You have the Albanis and the Falla, Sarsaparilla, all of the classical composers. So Spanish dance is castanets, and it's either done in slippers, that's la bolera, and then flamenco is basically guitar.
So who was your teacher initially?
Okay. My Spanish dance teacher, ballet and tap was Frank Brooks, and Spanish, well, in the studio, my mother was asking, does anyone know the Spanish dance teacher? And there was this woman called Lola Bravo, and she was at the CBS studios on 54th Street where David Letterman, the show used to be. Who is it now? The funny guy, yeah, anyway. So it was in those studios that we went, and all she, and she taught classical Spanish with the castanets and all that. And and she wore a costume, it was wonderful, and I loved it. I really loved it. So for many, many, many years I was studying ballet, tap, and Spanish dance. And later on, a woman, I must have been around 10 years old, a woman, she started teaching flamenco. And my mother was very loyal to Lola, so a lot of these, Carmencita Lopez, and she started teaching flamenco, which was guitar. So a lot of people, which is what the people really wanted. They wanted the gypsy stuff. At that time it was Carmen Amaya, all those people. And a lot of people left Lola, but we were very loyal to Lola, so I stayed with Lola Bravo.
Okay. So Lola retires in 1961, and who became your teacher then?
Okay, Lola left to her.
Would you hold the microphone up just a little bit? Thank you.
Okay.
That helps a lot.
Lola left the studio because Lola retired, and she went back to Spain. And she left it to Tina Ramirez. And at that time I was around 19. And I didn't get along with Tina. Tina was this high, and I was like this high, and Tina wanted me to be turn, knee drop, turn, knee drop. I said, I'm too tall, I'll do one knee drop, but don't give me 4 knee drops in like 3 steps, So we didn't get along. And I left Tina and I went to
Mariquita Flores.
Mariquita Flores, exactly.
So Mariquita Flores was actually one of my teachers. And the reason I ended up studying with Lil, like later on, the timeline is a little off, but I wanted to mention, was because Mariquita said to me, if you want to dance, you need to try multiple teachers. You don't have a style yet, you're mimicking everybody, and you need to go see other people and take classes. So she actually sent me to Lil while I was still studying with her. And I was 16 or 17, more or less. But anyway, so you dance with Mariquita Flores, but your life takes a really interesting turn because you have your first professional job where?
Bangor, Maine.
Isn't that amazing? It's like when I learned that, I was like, what?
Yeah, well, this is what happened. This woman, Teresa Tokanovsky.
You know who she is?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But Tokanovsky was
A
conductor,
conductor.
yeah, of New Orleans classical orchestra. And she was a very, very famous Spanish dancer. She was Luisillo's wife at one point. And she had called me because Mariquita had recommended me, and I said no because I had given my word to be a partner with this other dancer, Paco Alonso. And I said, no, I can't do your job. She says, it's a very good job. And, it's in theaters, it's a company, a very well-established company. And I said, no, I gave my word, so loyal to her word. So what happens is that she left for Maine, and I think she hired another dancer, but she wasn't a dancer, she was like a cook. That sort of do that stuff. And then my partner, the guy that I was rehearsing with, he got a job in Las Vegas. And he left me. And what am I gonna do? So my mother said, well, don't you think you should call up that woman, Teresa? And I said, no, I'm too embarrassed. She says, no, give them a call. And I spoke to Mariquita. She says, well, call her anyway. So I called her and she says, well, I have another dancer, but if you want to come and audition for me, I'm not going to go to New York, you have to come to Maine. By bus. And that's how I went to Maine, Bangor, Maine. Effie Young, we stayed at Effie Young's house in Hancock, Maine. Yeah. That's where we rehearsed, in Hancock. And she accepted me in the company. And that was like my really first flamenco Spanish dance classical company.
How old were you at the time?
I graduated from college, so I must have been around 19-ish. Yeah.
What year was that?
I don't know. I was born in 44.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just as a side, I mean, a lot of people could not support themselves just doing dancing. You did have another job, right?
When I wasn't working, I had gone to college. This is it. I won these Regent scholarships to go to college from high school, and my mother wanted me to go to college. Well, we had to go to college, both of us. And I said, I was just offered a job to Las Vegas, And she said, no, you have to go to, So I made a deal with her. I said, I'll go to a 2-year college, and then I can do it. I'll go to a 2-year college. So I went to a junior college, and I was, I got a chemistry scholarship. Wow. But I said, get out of here. If I'm a chemist, how can I, that's constantly changing. I have to stay in and read stuff and, I have to do something that I could go in and out. So I decided a secretary. Secretary is not in my bones. It's not in my bones. But when I went to college, I took a legal secretarial course. You know, it's called Executive Assistant Legal, that was the title. And it trained me to be a legal secretary. I sort of liked law, I really liked law. And so I did that, but listen, I was the worst typist. This stenography, Greg, I remember. Oh, it was awful. I was like really bad. They just passed me because I was good in my acting. And the teacher, she was an opera singer, so she was in the business, so of course she's gonna pass me.
So, you know, the reason I ask is because you find that a lot of artists have to supplement their income by doing something else, and that's still the case these days.
Oh, absolutely.
But in some ways, that skill was a good skill to have
Oh,
down
and
the
it was,
road.
no, and it paid more.
Yeah.
It paid more. I went into typing schools, and then I started working in law firms as a secretary, and then this law firm hired me on a permanent basis, and I said, no, I can't do permanent, because no, we'll hire you, and that's basically what's happened in my legal career. I always got a job with a law firm that would allow me to go on tour for 6 weeks and things of that nature, and then come back to the job. I also, one of my students used to have an interpreting company, and I used to interpret for the court system, you know, like in the courtroom as EDTs, examination, discovery cases. And I was the interpreter, and I never even studied Spanish. You know, in school I studied French because I wanted to be trilingual when I didn't even master two, you know. But they paid very well.
Okay, so back to flamenco. That now, no, but it's the segue is that you were working as a legal secretary when you went to audition for Jose Greco. You were told about Jose Greco.
Yeah, okay, I was in one of my temporary jobs, and my friend called me up. He said, guess what? Jose Greco is looking for girls. And I said, yeah. So he says, you better call him. I said, yeah. He says, you better call him. So I called him up. And I said, well, you know, I have a problem. I'm tall, I'm 5'6", and he says...
That is tall, by the way, for flamenco dancers. I just want to clarify that. Most don't even make it to 5 feet.
No, it's true. That's why when I was in Spain, I had to dance solo, because all of the companies, the head of the company was this tall. And they couldn't have a female taller than the boss, you know, anyway. So I went to audition on my lunch hour to Jose Greco. I went in my business suit, and I said, I don't have shoes or anything. He says, no, I just want to see you move. And he gave me the panadero step, the basic panadero step. And he says, okay, fine, you're hired. That's it. He says, yeah, I like crawl girls, I like Lola Bravo girls, and talk to my agents. And I said, talk to your agent. He says, yeah, he'll give you all the details. And he said, you're a very good dancer. So call the agent, everyone else, you know, we're gonna be chorus, right? So I start rehearsing, and there were like 4 solos to be had. And so bad. He says, whoever does the solos the best gets the solos. And this was like a new company. He had his core, Paco de Lucia. That's why the first time I met Paco de Lucia, he had a core flamenco people from Spain. And then the chorus were all local people. So all the dancers, the good dancers in New York were there, and they were in the company, and the competition was horrible. And I don't know, I was just thrilled that I was in the Greco company. And as far as the solos, I didn't care. But guess what? I got all of the solos. It was amazing.
Okay, so you mentioned someone, and how did you meet Paco de Lucia?
He was a very young, I think Paco, I think Paco was 19 at that time. I was a little bit older. How old was I? I don't know, maybe around 22, 20, I don't know, 21, I don't know. Anyway, and he was so cute. And Like, we became friends. We had a crush on each other, but I had a boyfriend.
I want to interrupt. For the people who don't know who Paco de Lucia is the greatest flamenco guitarist that has ever lived, in my opinion. He is instrumental in creating a lot of fusion with other genres, flamenco jazz. He was the guy who brought the cajon, which is the box that was typical of the Peruvian blacks working the harbors, and he brought that to Spain and incorporated into flamenco. I mean, it's now part of, the guitar, the cajon. He also used flute a lot, but bottom line, he is a phenomenal, well, he's passed. I strongly encourage you to check out his music.
The text that we
Yeah, we were playing earlier Entre Dos Aguas, which is a rumba by him, and it is just fabulous, so please check it out. But anyway, here is Paco with Liliana.
Oh, right.
Yeah. How come you did not go to Spain with Greco at that time? What happened about that?
No, because I had already committed to Maria Alba, and I had some off time, and that was the off time that I did with Greco. But Greco actually offered me a solid contract to go to Europe, and it was so funny, and he says, with Maria Alba, I mean, I'm Jose Greco. I'm taking you to Europe, and then we go to Spain, and then you stay in Spain, and all of that. And I said, okay, Jose, since you're Jose Greco, what about the money? I'm getting the money that all of the chorus people are getting, and I'm the one with the solos, so I want more money. He goes, oh, no, you speak to my agent. I said, no, I've done that already, and you're the boss. You dig into your pockets, and you give me the extra money that I want, and I got it. Oh, I caused him so much trouble. But he adored me. Every time he came into, he says, I need boys. Who are the boys around? I said, I need girls. He said, of course you're going to be in the company. I said, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Anyway, so we became very, very friendly. And also there was a thing, we had my first job with him was at the Shoreham Hotel in Washington. Tell me if I talk too much.
I'll interrupt you, don't
Okay.
worry. I know how to redirect you.
Okay, I know you do, my Madonna. Anyway.
For those who don't know what that means, it's like the Maria who's very bossy.
Mari Mandona.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when we were at the Shoreham Hotel, he would take out money for our stay. And the contract says, if Jose Greco provides the hotel rooms, the rooms, you will give like $25 of your salary to him. Yeah, right. Not me. And I went to him. I went to the hotel management. I said, aren't the rooms complimentary? You were working in the hotel. Aren't they complimentary to the people in the show? He goes, oh, absolutely. Okay, I have my ammunition, So I go to the Americans in the company, because doesn't involve them, because I didn't know what kind of contract he had with the Spaniards, but I knew he had the contract with the Americans. So I said, I'm going to talk. He says, he's going to fire us. I said, well, let him fire us. He's not going to fire 5 of us all at once. He's not going to do that, believe me. There's no one in Washington that knows the show. Okay, I said, I'm going to do it. And I went to him. I said, well, I went to management, and you got to take the $25. Got to give it back. And he says, okay, I'll give it. Don't you tell anyone. I said, no. All of the Americans. I'm the spokeswoman for the Americans. Can you imagine the nerve? And I said, no, all the Americans, you have to give them the money back and not charge them anymore for hotels, when
Okay.
they work in hotels.
So let's talk about Maria Alvarez and Ramon de los Reyes. How long did you work with them?
A long time.
You did, okay.
I worked a long time. She became my mentor. She was wonderful. And so I didn't do the rest of the contract with Jose, because I had this commitment with her. Jacob's Pillow it was. I went with Maria Alvarez to Jacob's Pillow. She was a wonderful dancer. It was a really good company.
I had wanted to ask you, you talked a little bit about the business, but you know, we're not taught how to deal with business when we're dancers. How did you learn that?
Okay, when I was always curious about the business, and so I remember I was with Jose, and his agent asked me. He says, "Well, now that the contract is up, what are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Probably get a job as a legal secretary." He goes, "You know how to type?" I said, "Yeah." You're right, I'm really bad. I didn't tell him that. And he takes no. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, work." He said, I said, "Why don't you hire me?" And he said, "Yeah, that's what I was just gonna, I'll hire you." And that's how I learned the background, the business aspect of it. Never utilized it, but if I knew how to do it if I had to do it.
And that was Royce Carlton, right?
Royce Carlton, yeah.
Okay,
Lucy and
so
Carlton, yeah. It's a matrimonio, married couple.
So you end up going to Spain, first time in '69, you returned because your mother died, but then you went back in '71 through '74, '80 through '84. And I really want to know, how was that experience? How often did you dance flamenco? Did you also take classes at the time?
Well, the first time I went, which was in '69, I went for 3 months, and I spoke to a friend of mine. I knew exactly who I wanted to study. I did regular ballet classes, I did folk jota classes, I did classical Spanish, I did flamenco, I did private classes with all of the greats in Spain. So I was studying everything, and I was so happy, and then my mom died. And then I had to come here, and then I went back. And then when I went back, I remember going to a tablao. I knew the tablao. A tablao is like a flamenco restaurant nightclub. And I knew the tablao I wanted to work at, the best one. And I had the time now. I mean, I was free. I was in Spain, and I studied like really hard, solidly for 3 months. And then I auditioned for Café de Chinitas.
Okay, so Café de Chinitas it's a very famous cafe in Madrid, and
And that's
what I want to know.
That's Merced. You know the singer Jose Merced?
Yeah.
That's his wife.
Okay.
She was my best friend.
So tell me about that audition, because I thought the story behind the audition in Café de Chinitas is very interesting.
They're so sneaky. They really are. The head of the Cuadro was male dancer. I don't remember his name. He came to the studio. He saw me dance, and then he asked me to come and talk to the owners, and they told me I had to have an audition. And I said, well, he already saw me how to do it. No, you have to come tomorrow night in costume and work in Cuadro. Mind you, I mean, I went to Spain to learn how to dance how the Spaniards danced, because it's different. It's different. Here is like an American girl, studied with Spanish teachers and American teachers, but it was different. It was completely different. So I wanted to dance how they danced. So I went to Spain to learn how they dance, and all of a sudden, these guys are telling me, you have to audition the way we dance in a cuadro, And I should have asked for money, but I didn't, because I was just too nervous and too scared. So I had to like get up there in the quadro. Quadro is like a series of women, and each of them do like a little group number together, and then everybody dances individually. And that's the quadro. And then we finish together, and then they have like main acts, and then the quadro comes on again, the 8 girls. This quadro had 8 girls. And there I am, I'm thrown into this quadro. Okay, that's okay as far as dancing is concerned, but here, I have no idea. That's an instrument, that's part of the technique, that's part of the show. I mean, like, you have professional palmeros, hand clappers, you know, but the quadro, we have to back up. There's a way to do that, you know. I had no idea. and this Lily Mercedes and Chunguita, this is her name, wow, it's different. She was bad. She threw a girl off the stage.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, she was bad.
I'm sorry because I know the stories. I want you to tell the story about Jeremiah singing.
I used to have a Jose Greco album, and at the end of the album, there was like a little section devoted to flamenco, because Jose was like mostly classical with the jodas, the folk numbers, and Escuela Bolera, and the Spanish, the tiki-taki. And then towards the end of that particular album, he had like a little section of flamenco. And in that little section of flamenco, there was this singer called Jeremiah. I didn't know her name or anything. And oh, I used to love this song. My mother and I used to dance to it, not knowing what I was doing. And when I go to Café Chinitas, and I'm sitting there, and this woman opens her mouth, because she was like one of the star performers. She was the head of the quadro of the girls. It was the same voice, it was the same, I mean, I almost died.
Singing the same song.
Exactly.
How fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Unbelievable. That was amazing.
Okay, so you said you learned palmas doing it in the cuadro, but tell me about the transition of studying with piano accompaniment, transitioning to guitar. Tell me about that, because you mostly trained with piano.
Absolutely. The magical part about Lola Bravo is that on the piano, the pianist, he would play flamenco rhythms. We had an alegrias, I didn't know what it was. We had an alegrias, we had bolerias, we had soleá, we had seguirias on the piano. So when I went into a company and I didn't know what flamenco was because I had never danced with guitar, but everything was familiar. Everything was familiar. And then that's when I realized the difference between flamenco with the guitar and the Spanish dance, and that's why I went to Spain.
Okay, so Lil, in real life, my life, is a fabulous cook.
So you're
Yeah,
great.
okay, but this is about you, not me. But I love the stories about being in Café de Chinitas in Madrid and having friends, co-worker come to the apartment. And some of the people that came to the apartment are
exclusive to the Americans. I mean, I was very, very supportive of all the Americans that came to Spain. Jova, Carlota, I would take them under my wings and show them the ropes. Show them this is where you study, this is where you eat, this is where you sleep. And I was very, and in my apartment, I was living with 2 other flamenco dancers, and they were American. So, they were like, you know, they used to invite the guys, you know. I never invited the guys, you know, because like we were tired. It was like, I mean, I used to finish at 4:30 in the morning sometimes, you know. It was like really late. And they would finish earlier, but my place always finished late, because all the people from the other places would come to my place. Yeah, because we finished late, and it's a whole family thing, you know, like you hang out and drink and you sing, it's fabulous. Anyway, so one of these days, one girl brought in Camarón de la Isla, the singer.
Do we know who that is?
Yes.
Okay, so Camarón de la Isla is probably one of the most famous flamenco singers. He too has died fairly young, but he was just amazing. And he loved Lil's lentils.
Because I was the cook. For the girls, in the afternoon, I would make the meal for the night, and that day was lentils. And so they bring in Paco, and I said, oh God, I just wanted to sit down and gossip with them and everything. Now we have to, you play hostess, you brought them in, you do whatever you have to do. I'm eating, So, and he says, I want lentils. Who made the lentils? And I said, La Boricua, the Puerto Rican, And he says, you know how to make lentils? I said, you don't have to have them. You don't have to taste them. Forget about it. He wanted the whole pot.
See here, this is Paco de Lucia and Camarón,
Yeah,
which
Paco
are
also came. I think
idols.
they both came that night. I'm not sure. But, that's, Paco was the one, he played with Al McLaughlin and John McLaughlin and Al DiMeola.
Oh, yeah,
The trio, yeah. That's when he extended. He told me that, because we were very friendly and we would run in, he would come to Chinitas just to see me. Nothing romantic ever. I'm like, really, I stay away from the men in my business. I just drink with them and play, and play with them, and that was it with me. And so Paco always used to come, and and he was, I think he came with the lentils. So Paco would come. And what was the question? See, I go on.
You had told me that Paco de Lucia also came with Camarón de la Isla. The two of them would come.
Right, with the
to
lentils,
eat.
right.
All right, so you returned from Spain in '69. Who did you work with at that time?
I don't remember.
You were working with Alba and Reyes had broken up, and you started working with Maria Alba. But that's about the time you also started partnering with Bobby.
When did I partner with Bobby? I remember he wrote me a letter in Spain. He says, I want you to be part of this company.
But that's a little later on. Initially, you were with Bobby.
But I was with Bobby before.
Right.
Look, Mommy died. I was with Bobby in between Mommy dying. I went to Spain, I came back.
Right.
That was like in '69 when Mommy died.
So I want to talk about Bobby because I want you to talk to me about the job in the Catskills.
Bobby Lorca.
Who was a fabulous, fabulous dancer.
And beautiful. And beautiful. He was my best girlfriend, we were sisters. I mean, he was really kind-hearted. This guy didn't have a malicious bone in his body.
Except when you didn't do something right, or I didn't do something right, he would say, honey. And he said honey to me, I was in trouble. But he was a wonderful, wonderful, also a teacher, so.
Okay, so he had an agent, and he says, well, why don't we get together and become a team, and we were a terrific team. I remember I used to do like these midriff pants and a little bolero top. Oh, it was so cute. And it was a great team, because he was a phenomenal dancer. And we would do the Catskills. And one day, we have a job, but it's not going to pay a lot. But you have to go, we have to do it, because his agent said every agent in town is going to be there, because this is like the booking audition, And we had orchestra numbers, there was a band rehearsal, an orchestra rehearsal, we brought in no music, and then, a lot of acts, but this one girl, she was like terrific. I said, Bobby, we're not going to get anything, because that girl she's gonna get it, And backstage she goes, oh my God, you guys are so beautiful, and I said, you're terrific. She says, no, but you're great, you guys are great. 2 weeks later, she's on Johnny Carson. Lady's name is Bette Midler. Amazing.
So I have a connection here too, and you know, Lil and I have been friends forever. Probably a couple of years ago, I said, Lil, how did Bobby know Bette Midler? And then she told me this story. But what happened to me, I was, I think, in college, and in New York City, the Delacorte Theater in Central Park is a free amphitheater, and they had Shakespeare in the Park. And I think it was Othello that I went to see, and as I'm walking down, Bobby catches me and said, hey, Maria, come here. I want to introduce you to someone. And he introduced me to Bette Midler, and she was just becoming famous at the time. And, you know, I always wonder, like, how did he know her? And Bill told me that story.
I think the hotel's name was the Dorian Hotel, that was
Yeah.
where, yeah.
But they became good friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so you returned to Spain, you worked at Café de Chinitas for a few years, and then you also worked at Cabales, that was owned by Luisillo at the time, right? And this is, you worked with Antonio Maya Heredia? Right. So look
I
at how
think she was
Pelao's wife.
Yeah.
And then Pelao married,
Luchin.
no, I thought, okay,
There were a lot of Pelaos.
yeah, that's true. So now, from Spain, Lil travels quite a bit. Look how fabulous she looked.
This was in Cabales, in Luisillo's hotel. That's Roberto, who's one of the owners. This is, I remember, and that's Andres Heredia, and that's Antonio Heredia, Amaya.
From Spain, you did a bunch of trips, and I believe you went right from Spain. Went to where?
Oh, Italy?
Italy, right?
Okay.
With Luisillo, right?
Right. Luisillo had a really big name in Europe. There were big companies and everything of that nature. In fact, during that time, we did the Plaza de Toros in Madrid. We did La Boda de Luis Alonso in the Plaza de Toros. And after that, or right after that, he got a contract to, the company went to Rome. And we worked in an outdoor festival doing Luis Alonso and an outdoor festival in Rome. And then the company left, but he got an extra job in Bari working with the opera, doing La Traviata. You know, in Traviata, like a third act, they have the gypsies come in. So since he was in town in Rome, they needed a Spanish dance. They wanted a team, so he took me and we went to Bari and we worked in one of like the old amphitheaters there in Bari. Yeah, that was a wonderful experience. That was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so before we discuss where else you work, I want to digress for a second because I love this story also. Tell me about the St. Regis Hotel in Manhattan. I love this story.
I love the story too, because it's like wonderful. I had just come back from Spain. I don't know if it was with Jose Greco, but I had friends that had a restaurant in Marbella, Estepona. It's near Marbella, right on the coast there. And you know, one was Irish and the other one was Australian, and they both spoke English with English accents, and they were restaurateurs. And I met them through an Australian flamenco guitarist that I knew that we were very friendly. And he and his wife, I lived with them in the apartment. They had an extra room, so I rented a room from them, and we were very fun. So she had these relatives that would open up. They came to Spain, they met me, and then I came to New York. I went to New York, and on my way back to Spain, I went to London. That's where, I had been in London already with Greco. I got a standing ovation at Royal Albert Hall, but I never say that. Anyway. Only now, because I'm thinking of that particular. And then from there, I went back, and the kids, the boys, called me up, and they said, "You've been opened up a restaurant, but we're having trouble getting the phone. And so, come down, we need someone who's fluent in Spanish, and talk to these guys, you know." So long story short, I threatened to go to the president of the telephone company because they were taking advantage of them. They were telling them they couldn't have a phone for 6 months. And I went there and I fought with them, and we finally opened up a restaurant.
Okay, but I still wanna hear about St. Regis Hotel.
Okay.
How you got there?
Okay, fine. So when I'm down in Marbella, Estepona with them, I bought this beautiful dress, a gorgeous dress. So then, I left there, I went to Madrid, I came straight to New York, because I live in a rent-control apartment in New York City, and I was in trouble, because I sublet it. I'm not supposed to sublet it, but it wasn't because of the sublet. The girl who was staying in my apartment wanted to keep the apartment. Well, I've been in the apartment now 55 years, so, this is like the most important thing in my life. So I flew to New York. So during that whole time, after I got the apartment stuff settled, I figured I need a reward. So it's a beautiful day. I think it was in August or something like that. And I'm saying, I'm gonna go walk down Fifth Avenue, order a dozen escargot at the brasserie, and I'm gonna have a drink at the St. Regis. Miss Lou. So Miss Lou's walking down Fifth Avenue. I said, oh, the St. Regis, I'm gonna have a drink at the St. Regis. And I look gorgeous, and I have a Spanish shawl on, I look great. Mind you, this is like 30 years ago more, I was younger.
No, but more.
I look great. Anyway, the dress was gorgeous and the shawl, perfect. And I'm staying at the St. Regis. The bar was, but I didn't want to, I wanted to go to the King Cole Lounge. I'm dressed like a lady, I should sit at a table, I'm not a bar girl that particular day. In jeans, I go to bars, So, and I'm standing by the doorway, and I'm waiting to be seated, and no one's seating me. And I'm waiting, they're walking past me, looking at me and keeping going, like this, And I'm saying, these idiots, they think I'm a lady of the life, so they're not gonna sit me, just because I'm dressed and I look good, no, okay. Well, this little short man comes, he goes, oh my God, you look so beautiful. And I said, immediately I went into the Spanish. I said, I think this is terrible. I came here, I want to have a drink. They're not sitting me because they think I'm a lady of the life. He goes, it was Salvador Dali. That's when I switched to Spanish, I recognized him like in 2 seconds, with the mustache, not only the mustache. And he says, oh no, por favor, señorita, siéntese conmigo. So he asked me to join him at his table. And at the table, there was his wife, and these two models. He had just did a fashion show, and the two models, gorgeous girls. One had like this beautiful lace blouse. It was literally open down to here, covering the nipple, And the other one had a beautiful business suit. Oh, it was wonderful. The skirt was like chiffon with like appliques, like of moons, half moons. Oh, it was beautiful. And all of a sudden, his wife goes, Salvi, hello. What's wrong? What are you doing? I know what alone means. Let's go, right? Here he is with he's like fascinated. You dance flamenco. I hear all of this stuff with him. And the two girls are just sitting there. And she comes, she was there also, but she stood up and she goes, Salvi, hello, Salvi, hello. They left. He said, you're buena noche. He's very polite. He goes, order whatever you want, and fine. And here I am with these two models, and they go, well, where are we gonna go now? All the facade changed. I didn't change my facade. I said, well, I'm going to the brasserie and having a dozen escargot. You want to go? Go, no way, So I went to the brasserie and had a dozen escargot. That's myself.
All right, so now you're dancing in the U.S., and where did you work? This is about the time you went to L.A., Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did all the clubs in New York. I did a lot of clubs in New York. I got a teaching job. That was probably 76.
76, okay, Stevens College.
Yeah, Stevens College. I was recommended by Teresa to teach
This is
Spanish
in Missouri.
in Columbia, Missouri. It's a women's college, and it's Columbia, Missouri has NU. It has four or five different colleges. It's a real college town, and I was asked to teach there. It was great. It was a great. I went back around 8 times to
It's awesome.
Stevens College. You know.
But let's get to LA. What happens in LA?
Okay, so my friend Bobby Amaral, who happens to be a genius dancer and a genius in general. I think I know around 3 geniuses in my life personally, and he's one of them. He's a brilliant dancer. I met him in the Greco company, and so much fun, funny, talented. His father was the orchestra director of Carmen Miranda.
Oh, okay.
Grapefruit, that one, and Brazil. And he was the orchestra director, and his mother was just like a regular Mexican housewife. But the kid, Bobby Amaral, is a genius dancer, fabulous dancer. Well,
There we are.
there we go, yeah. That's Bobby in the middle.
And that's Lil on the bottom in the middle.
Yeah, look at how glamorous these guys. Yeah, it was like sexy down to here. It was like really, you know.
So he actually quit dancing and only
Well, he used to be part of Carmen, which was a rock band.
Yeah, but then he went to painting, right? He's an artist.
Yeah, but the rock band is terrific. I went to see them at the Academy of Music when it was on 14th Street with Jethro Tull. They were in front of that. He was great in that.
That's awesome.
Talent, real talent.
Okay, so around this time you also work with Carmen Mora. Tell me about Carmen Mora, where you danced with her. Tell me about her.
An incredible spiritual and brilliant dancer and person. And when I was in LA, one of her friends was one of the dancers and directors of the show that I was working in a place called El Cid. It's still there. It's been there for years and years and years and years, like from the 40s. And I was working there. I went to LA to visit Bobby. I went there on Wednesday, and I had a job on Friday, like that, And when I got the steady job at El Cid, the director of the show was a very personal friend of Carmen Mora, and she wanted her daughter to come to America because La hija.
Okay, so we're talking about Belén Maya, who is Carmen Mora's daughter, and she is currently a very accomplished dancer. Her father, Mario Maya, has died also, and Carmen Mora has also died. She died young in a car accident. But Belén was actually born in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, so she's American born.
No, it was the hospital in 46th Street or something like that.
I know it's Mount Sinai, but we can argue about that. But she was born in New York, even though she is sort of one of the most progressive dancers. She's very innovative, does stuff that is non-traditional, but she is a fabulous technician as well.
She's extremely intelligent also. I mean, she came to New York, came here on a job, but all she wanted to do was go to Martha Graham Studios. That was it. Martha Graham.
Okay, but I want to go back to Carmen Mora, because you have said to me that of all people you ever danced with, she was always in the zone, and I want you to talk about what that means.
When I teach, I tell my girls, you have to learn your choreography. The most important thing, you have to learn your choreography, because when you get to perform it, you know the choreography so well, so the dance angels can take over. That's how I explain it to them. The other thing I always say, when you know your choreography, you don't have to think about the dance. you're in the zone. And that's when the dancing just take over. And that's like that to me is the magical part of performing. And I remember when I was 16, my brother volunteered me in his college to dance at a Christopher Columbus Day thing. He was part of the Spanish department, and the important thing about this guy, this Italian guy, his name is Orazio Ciccarelli, and he told me, I was 16, he says, you must never stop dancing. Yeah. Because when you dance, you make people happy, and very few people have that talent, and you have it.
That's awesome.
And that has stayed with me all of my life.
Excellent.
So the zone.
The zone.
That's where you want to be. When
Would you call that what we call duende, being in the zone?
No, duende is personal. No,
Okay.
duende is personal. Duende is your inner soul, your inner spirit. That magical thing, the gift from God, I call it. I tell my girls, we have a lot of technicians. Learn your technique, because my technique, when I'm not in the zone, my technique saves me. Because, you don't know when you're going to go in the zone or not. It's the inspiration. Because sometimes, I get pleasure in dancing and dancing well. But when you're in the zone, it's like magical. It's like you're not on earth. But the technique is very, 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 it's what gets you to the zone.
Right. You had talked to me about the emotional freedom of dance, but it has to be in compás, which I always love.
This is the difference between, especially flamenco. I tell my girls also that, the difference between a classical dancer, a tap dance, any kind of dancer, and our form of dance, flamenco, is that we have emotional freedom. We have numbers that when we're happy, we do the happy numbers. When you're sad, we have sad numbers, but it just gives you that liberty of emotional freedom. And let me tell you, girls, the more selfish, the more you go into that freedom, that feeling, the better your performance is, because that's the magic. When you see a dancer completely integrated in their performance, feeling it, that's so individual, that's so personal, that's a great artist.
Okay. All right, I don't know where we're at, but I think we are at my wedding now.
No, that's your
Yeah. This is Lil at my wedding, and she was good enough to dance the Sevillanas with me. This is 1985.
I did the whole show, and then we did the Sevillanas. Yeah.
So I just wanted to share with you that that's what I used to look like too. We change. Okay, so another
She
digression.
was a wonderful dancer. She's still
She's my teacher,
No,
I learned from the best.
We don't teach everybody here. We don't teach everybody. I know you were good because Mariquita sent you, and she didn't send me a lot of people, believe me. Go ahead.
All right, this is not about me then. Okay. 1982. You were back in Spain, but returned in 83 because
I don't know.
Bobby was starting a company. And that was it.
Yeah, that was
The Spanish Dance Arts.
exactly.
So,
Well, I was in Spain. I knew Carlota. I had taken her under my wing. I told her that the Americans I take under my, this is where you study, this is where you eat. She was one of those. Carlota is the owner, the head of the company, but she started the company with Bobby's name because he's the star.
right.
She just has the brains. It's brilliant. She's really smart. And it was her, and they were forming a company, but at that time, Carlota and I had disagreements. So that's when Melinda came in, because I wouldn't work with Carlota. So he wrote
But
me.
you did work with her for a while before it transitioned to I mean,
Well, I'm the one that gave her the idea. I'm the one that gave her the name. Yeah.
all right, so the next thing that we have is Bobby had choreographed the Manolo Sandoval piece for you, and we have a little bit of Lucy Sombra for you to watch.
A little bit.
It's not very good, is it? So on that, the choreography was Bobby, and he choreographed that for you.
That's amazing.
You know, it's fabulous. I particularly like when we do call and response, where you hear the heel work and the other one answers. It's like this dialogue back and forth.
Great dancing, great choreography.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful stuff. All right, so Bobby gets ill in 1986. This was 86, I believe, and
Yeah, because he died in 87.
he died in 87. So you started to do other things which were a little bit different, like doing the Picasso play. Who knew that Picasso had done plays? He actually wrote 3 different plays, but you did this particular one, El Deseo Cogido por el Rabo, Desire Caught by the Tail. And you did the choreography and you performed, and tell me about tell me a little bit about the choreography, because I've always thought it was very interesting, like the bathroom and
Have you seen it?
no, you shared it with me over the years.
I have the tape of it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where it is.
We'll have it next time.
Yeah, anyway. Okay, Picasso wrote 3 plays, and this particular play, there's a scene that's in the bathroom, because they would have their tertulias, ¿cómo se dice en inglés? Una tertulia, it is like Simone de Beauvoir.
It's like a jamming, right?
No, it's a little lecture, an intellectual gathering.
Oh, okay, like a salon.
There's
Who
a word
said
in
that?
English, tertulia in Spanish. I don't know how you say it in English. Died because I was born here, you know. Anyway, so, and he wrote 3 plays, and this particular scene, I thought it was the best scene. They're in the bathroom, and they used to discuss, because, you know, it was during the war, you know, and they were all exiled, you know, they were all there. And
I just want to say the war is the Civil War we're talking about, right?
yeah, because he left.
Spanish
He left
Civil War.
36. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Spanish Civil
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it has to do with Guernica.
Yeah. And I mean, I read the play, I read every word, because, you know, he's out there. So he says hand, and he's actually talking about the sky, you know, something like that. So the director and I had been on this, so I choreographed it, I acted in it, and this one particular scene, I said, well, I think what I want to do is all of us are behind, it's a bathroom, so we're behind these white curtains, shower curtains, and there's like a little opening, and I just want feet. And 2 of us were actual flamenco dancers. I wrote them myself, and then we had actors around them, and they just did the bass. And we used to like really build it up and everything. That was a great scene. And then at the end, what I did, I decided that I saw Guernica, the painting, and what I did, I took all of the positions, you know, this one like that, this one like that, this one screaming and everything, and that was like the final pose, which was by Saint-Saëns' composition.
Dance macabre.
Dance macabre.
Yeah. So, Lil is really innovative, and she also did a Japanese play, the Sotova Komachi.
At La Mama.
And you played a 100-year-old woman?
Yeah, the story, the legend is that this woman, she's a very young, beautiful woman, and she lives to old age, but at 99, she has to kill her lover or else she dies. So we start off, I remember, I start off at this little old lady picking up cigarette butts. That's how it opens, and it just evolves into that, and that was our mama. That was like really good, yeah.
I mean, Lil did a lot of other things. She had done
Flamenco Latino
also the Ballet Hispanico, you taught there. And then I wanted to talk briefly about, in the 1980s, you were involved in a fundraiser for Alzheimer's disease research, and
that was when I was
Rita Hayworth, right?
Yeah, that was when I was in Ballet Hispanico. We used to get really good jobs. Some of the private parties were on Park Avenue, Fifth Avenue. We really got good jobs in that.
I want to just interrupt for a second. Ballet Hispanico comes here, and they were here probably 2 years ago. We went to see them, and they were fabulous. I don't know if they're coming this year, but it's worth checking them out.
It's a modern dance company.
Yeah, I mean, they're eclectic. They have a little bit of
Oh,
everything.
everything, they use
Yeah.
a lot of flamenco as a music
Right.
background, Latin music, I mean, excellent, I'm still very
Yeah,
close.
they were at the Merrill Auditorium, so.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay, I'm sorry.
so,
And you worked
Okay,
with a
so-
couple of famous people on that, on the Alzheimer's.
okay, so I got this job, this call from Valley Hispanico, this woman calls me, her name is Deandra Douglas, and she's the head of this benefit performance for Alzheimer's, and the theme was like, David Gabor?
No, Rita Hayworth.
Rita Hayworth, okay.
It was Freya Hayworth because
Right,
she had
died of
suffered.
Alzheimer's.
And she loved flamenco. She
Well,
danced
she was a
herself.
dancer.
Yeah,
She started
right.
off as a Spanish dancer, and they wanted to have a Spanish dance company, and I got the job through, and I had like 20 dancers, I had like 4 guitarists, 4 singers, they paid very well, I paid very well, I paid my dancers very well, and it was like great. And it was Deandra Douglas, who at that time was married to, and Michael Douglas, pero también the baseball player, Fernandez, he was a Met.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was there, a lot of famous people, but yeah. So we did that, that was a wonderful, they had the greatest paella.
Anyway, that got a lot of notoriety and awareness, and it was Tavern on the Green, which is a famous place in New York.
They rented a tent, it was in a big tent, yeah.
So it's now a little later, and your friend Priscilla Lopez was on a Broadway play, and the play was in the Heights, and you go meet her and tell them what happens because
Okay,
it's impacted you later.
Okay, this is Priscilla Lopez. I had contact with her when she was in Chorus Line. I went to see Chorus Line, and I went with my brother, and he said, we gotta go backstage, we gotta go. I said, I'm not gonna go backstage. I mean, I haven't seen her since Lola Bravo, but so we went backstage. So I said hi to her, and of course my brother elaborates everything like that, but I said hi to her. So then, oh yes, we were on a panel. That's the second time I saw her outside of the theater. And then I was working in one of my friends as a receptionist at a beauty parlor. My friend Paul O'Brien, he had a beauty parlor in my neighborhood, and he's a very good friend of mine. And I'm saying, I'm broke again, no dancing, and no dancing. So he says, well, come answer phones at my office. So one of the customers there, she told me, your friend Priscilla Lopez is in a play. It's on Off-Broadway. I said, oh, really? It's called In the Heights. So immediately that day, I run down, it was at the Baryshnikov Theater, which is in the 30s, like on 10th Avenue in New York, and I get the cheapest seats, which were like the first 2 rows. I think they were $10 or $20, and I get right in front. And it's funny, I thought the play was fantastic. It was like fantastic, and at the curtain call, it just so happens that she's on my side. I'm the audience, and that's the stage, and she's standing right in, she goes, Lillian! She calls me by my real name, Liliana Morales. It's Liliana, because Jose Greco changed it to Lilian sounded too Jewish, and I said, get out of here, I'm named after a Jewish person, I'm American, I want everything. No, Liliana Morales. So she goes, Lillian! I said, Priscilla, she goes, oh, meet me in the lobby. And I, because I hadn't seen her in Chorus Line, I hadn't seen her for years. So I wait, I go to the back, and then she comes in, and we hug and kiss and everything, and I remember she had gotten me Chorus Line tickets for one of my friends, the guys who opened up the restaurant in Marbella. They came to New York City, and they wanted to see Chorus Line. I had to pull my contact, and Priscilla got tickets, and we took them to dinner, her husband and her. Anyway, so she introduces me to the directors, which was Lin-Manuel and the other guy, And she says, oh, this is my girlfriend, Liliana Morales, and she's a great flamenco dancer. He goes, oh, flamenco, I forgot to put flamenco in the show. And I was like, she's terrific, she's really great. I go, oh, that's, he goes, but he's still thinking of the flamenco. Of course, I went home, I said, maybe he'll call me, and he put it in the show. It never happened.
But you got called in 2021.
Right, exactly.
And she did do flamenco in The Heights.
The movie.
The movie.
Why did you
So
put
this is a brief.
you have,
Yeah, we have everything on you, Lil. So
I never thought I'd see the day since when are Latin people scared of me. When I was a little girl growing up in the hills of Vegas, my favorite time of year was Christmas time. Ask me why. Right. There wasn't an ounce of snow, but oh, the monkey in the world. As we sang the Aguilar, the carnival would begin to grow. Business is closed, and we're about to go. Let's have a carnival del barrio.
I don't know if you guys have not seen the movie, but it's worth watching. It's a wonderful movie. So
that was
he did put flamenco in it.
He did,
After all.
he did.
Okay, so I mean, we're getting to the end of this. I want to ask about your continue to be involved in flamenco, because you don't remember. I reminded you this morning. She was a judge in the certamen, which is a competition that goes on in New York, and people come from all over the United States to attend this competition, and the winner gets to go to Spain on essentially a scholarship, and she has participated being the judge. She recently, in 2025, performed with Sol and with Eloy Ibarra, and I had the pleasure of going to see her. Here she is, and it was great because she played her personal best role, which was the teacher in the, I mean, she wasn't playing, this is what she does, and like her regal attitude and her directing all these other women, it was perfect.
Yeah,
It
they
fit her.
had a class on stage.
Right, and
Yeah.
Lil was the teacher, and it was like, oh my God, deja vu. And then recently, like a month ago, you performed with Nelly Tirado.
At the
At the
92nd
92
Street,
Right.
92nd Street Y in Manhattan.
So
With Nelly.
she's still involved, and can I say your age?
I never lie about my age.
My point is that flamenco is a genre where you can mature and still continue to dance and contribute, and Lil is 82 years young. And, you know, that is pretty amazing. So, last but not least, I want to ask about how flamenco has changed over your professional career, your opinions about that.
Remember when I said about being in the zone, that whole thing, you know, the dance angels taking over and things of that nature? Well, what I see right now, and I really see it in all forms of dancing, but especially flamenco, because flamenco, we expect it to be emotional. I mean, I do. I am. I mean, that's how I dance. And right now, what's happening right now is everything is going into the technique. How fast you could go, how long you could do this heel work. To me, I'm bored. You give me like half an hour of all of that, half an hour, it's boring. And that's what they've sacrificed the essence of it, which is like the emotional freedom that I speak about, for the technique. And I don't see the other thing coming back. Because it's magnificent. These guys are incredible technicians. I remember when I was a ballet dancer, if we did 2 or 3 pirouettes, that was terrific. Now they're doing like 10, 14, minimum 7. I mean, and it's happened, I think, in all forms of dance. And in my form of dance, they're sacrificing that emotional freedom that we have for the technique. But it gets results here. Because the audience is always, because it's impressive, it's very impressive, but we're losing that personal touch, that personal freedom.
Okay, so my last question is, what do you see your role, what do you think your role is in the flamenco community?
Mentor. My thing is to give all my information, and I've always been this way. I mean, I don't have any secrets, and especially about dancing and the career. I'm an open book. Ask me anything with reference to flamenco. I will tell you how to dance, how to do it, what to look for, everything. I mean, that's what makes you. I always feel I think I'm a very good teacher. I really do. I give. But my theory is, God gave me a gift of talent. I have to give that gift back. And how I do it is through, especially, I teach. I give the gift back. People say you do it performing also, yes, but to me, is you have to give the information out because it's gonna die. Because all this stuff is taking over. So they'll think a great dancer is someone who can dance fast and long with technique. That is not the essence of it. And the inspiration is the music, the guitar and the singing.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions, but if people have questions that want to ask Lil, Gina?
When you talk about being in the zone, is that like the spirit of the style comes through you and then you present it? Is that?
It's when you're not preoccupied with anything else, and you just dance. You dance what you feel, but always in compás. Because we have a very, very, very difficult musical structure with different rhythms, with different accents, different beats. Some of them are 12, some of them are 6, some of them are 2, some of them are 1, some of them are 3, some of them are 4 fours, and things of that nature. And you have to be within the structure of that bar, right? And if you're out of beat, you're not doing it. And now the other thing that they're doing, everything is like they're doing it on the counter beat.
The syncopation.
And it's the and, doing it, the syncopation. They're working on the and. The and has become the one. So it's very difficult, extremely difficult. But being in the zone, that's a spiritual thing to me. Because, I mean, I've done it. I don't feel good or anything like that. I rely on my technique to get me by. But when you're really dancing, you're not even thinking of it. You're just dancing without thinking, which is, that's really the magical part about it, the magic of performing. And it doesn't matter whether they clap or they don't clap. When you're in the zone, that's it. That's magic. That's what I mean.
Okay, anybody else? Well,
I'm speechless. I was fortunate to dance with Teresa at University of Maine, Orono.
wow.
Which was 50 years ago.
Wow.
And I went on to dance professionally in modern dance.
Uh-huh.
And but those were like the foremost 40 years of my life. We maintained a friendship. She has passed.
Yes.
But I just am so excited to be in this room with you and hearing your stories and just that I knew you knew her. I knew you had to have known her.
Yeah. I have to thank everybody and FLOR for having me here, because this is a wonderful experience for me. I love, you know, it's so many things that you don't remember, you know, and it just brings it back, you know. Since I was 5 years old, my first tap class and things of that nature.
So I want to thank everybody. Lindsey, thank you so much for doing the slides and making things happen. Mechanic Hall, everybody here who has really helped us make this happen, our audience, and thank you, Lil, for sharing your life with us.
Thank you all.